Welcome back. In today's video, we're diving into the top 30 most valuable copper wheat pennies and steel pennies and Monticello 5 cents Jefferson nickel that could potentially make you a millionaire. Yes, you heard that right. These small, humble coins could be worth a fortune in the right condition. So stick around as we unveil these hidden treasures and their jaw-dropping values. First up, the 1943 steel Lincoln penny, specifically the large date variety with a D mint mark in dirty condition. You might be wondering, how much is this penny worth in today's auction market, even in its less than pristine state? Well, stick around because we'll cover everything you need to know about its value and what makes this coin special. Let's first dive into a little history about the 1943 steel Lincoln penny. During World War I, there was a shortage of copper in the United States. So the U.S. Mint decided to strike pennies out of steel in 1943, replacing the usual copper composition. This was a one-year change, and by 1944, pennies returned to their standard copper composition. The 1943 steel pennies are instantly recognizable because of their silver color, which is a major giveaway. Although the steel pennies were produced to address the war effort, they weren't particularly popular with the public. They tended to rust and deteriorate, which is why many collectors are drawn to them today. And if you've come across a 1943 steel penny, you're likely wondering, how much is mine worth? In 1943, the U.S. Mint produced two types of Lincoln steel pennies, the small date and the large date variety. The large date is more common and tends to be a bit less valuable than its small date counterpart. Now, this is where the D Mint mark comes into play. The D Mint mark indicates that the penny was struck at the Denver Mint. Although the Denver Mint produced a large number of these coins, their value depends on the condition they're in. Even in dirty condition, a 1943 steel penny with the D Mint mark still holds some value. But how much? Let's dive deeper. Now, we need to talk about what we mean by dirty condition. A coin in dirty condition typically shows signs of wear and grime buildup from being exposed to the elements over time. The coin might have corrosion, dirt, oil stains, or tarnish that diminishes its overall appearance. The design elements of the coin might be difficult to read, and the shiny silver luster of a well-preserved steel penny is likely faded. While this may not be ideal for a collector looking for a pristine coin, the 1943 steel penny in dirty condition can still have value. It's all about how much wear and damage the coin has sustained, and how much of the original design is still visible. So, how much is your 1943 steel penny with the D Mint mark worth in dirty condition today? While it's not going to fetch the same price as one in mint condition, it still holds value in the market. On average, you can expect a 1943 steel penny with a D Mint mark in dirty condition to be worth somewhere between $600 to $8 at auction. Why does a dirty condition coin still command some value? It's because collectors are always on the lookout for these iconic coins, even if they're not in the best shape. Many people who collect Lincoln pennies are eager to complete their sets, so any variation of the 1943 steel penny, even with wear and grime, can be a sought-after item. But like all coins, the condition is only one factor in determining the value. Other factors include the coin's rarity, demand, and historical significance. The 1943 steel penny is rare by nature due to the fact that it was produced for only 1 year, which makes it highly collectible even in dirty condition. Although the large date with a D Mint mark isn't the rarest variety, it's still a significant part of U.S. coinage history, which keeps its demand strong. With over 1 billion 1943 steel pennies produced in total, they remain a memorable coin for collectors and history buffs alike. First up, the 1974 silver Washington quarter dollar with a large date and D Mint mark. But what happens when this coin is in dirty condition? Can it still hold value in today's auction market? Let's find out. Let's start by taking a closer look at the 1974 silver Washington quarter. This quarter is part of the Classic series that features George Washington's portrait on the front and an eagle on the reverse. But there's something special about this one. It's the 1974 large date version with a D Mint mark indicating it was struck in Denver. The large dates refers to the size of the numerals used in the date. For this year, the 1974 quarters were produced in two varieties, large date and small date. While the small date is rarer, the large date variety is still a significant part of this series. The D Mint mark tells us it was produced in Denver, which is common for many of the 1974 quarters. Now, let's talk about the condition of this coin. We're focusing on a dirty condition coin today, meaning it's not in pristine, uncirculated shape. You can see some dirt and tarnish, which might make you think it's worth less. But how does this impact its value? Well, when it comes to auction markets, even coins in less than perfect condition can still attract bids, though they typically won't fetch top dollar. Let's talk numbers. In today's auction market, the 1974 Washington quarter dollar in dirty condition can range in value, but don't expect to break the bank. Typically, these quarters can sell for between $18,000, depending on the extent of the dirt and wear. However, if you're lucky enough to find one in better condition, or even one with a unique error or minting issue, it could bring in a bit more. But remember, the value of any coin is affected by several factors. Even in dirty condition, things like the rarity of the mint mark, the demand for that particular year, and overall collector interest can affect the auction price. The 1974 silver Washington quarter is not the rarest coin out there, but it still holds a place in many collectors' hearts due to its silver content and historical significance. At auction, the value will vary greatly based on the coin's overall appearance and how it's presented. A dirty coin might not reach its full potential, but if it's part of a larger collection or offered with other silver Washington quarters, it could still bring in a nice amount. The key is to always have a clear idea of the current market trends and understand that condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. So if you're sitting on a 1974 silver Washington quarter with a large date and D Mint mark in dirty condition, don't be discouraged while it won't fetch a premium like a pristine example. It still holds value in today's auction market with its historical significance and silver content. It's definitely worth keeping an eye on. Next up, the 1943 Lincoln steel penny, specifically the large date variety without mint mark and in good condition. If you've ever found one of these in your collection or in your pocket change, you might be wondering, how much is it worth in today's auction market? Well, you're in the right place to find out. Before we dive into the value of the 1943 steel penny in good condition, let's take a quick look at why this coin is so special. During World War II, there was a shortage of copper, so the U.S. Mint made a major change to the composition of the penny. In 1943, they struck pennies with steel instead of copper, and the result was a shiny, silver-colored penny. This was a one-year change, and the pennies struck in 1943 are among the most famous coins in American numismatic history. The steel pennies were produced in large numbers, and they were immediately recognizable because of their unique color. However, the public didn't exactly love the new design. The steel pennies tended to rust, making them prone to wear and corrosion. As a result, many of these coins are in less than ideal condition today. Now, let's talk about the 1943 large date steel penny. When the U.S. Mint produced the 1943 steel pennies, they struck them with two different date styles, the small date and the large date. The large date variety is by far the more common of the two, and as a result, it's generally less valuable than a small date variety, which is rarer, but it's still a significant coin, and collectors are always on the lookout for it. In fact, 1943 steel pennies are one of the most collected coins in the Lincoln Cent series, and the large date variety remains a prized piece in any collection, even if it's not as rare as the small date. Now, let's talk about what we mean when we say a coin is in good condition. In coin grading, good condition means the coin shows substantial wear, but the main design elements are still legible. The Lincoln portrait is visible, and the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty" can still be read, but there may be signs of heavy scratching, discoloration, or light corrosion. For the 1943 steel penny, this is a common condition, given its age and the fact that these coins were made of steel, which is much more susceptible to corrosion than copper. So, what's this 1943 Lincoln steel penny worth in good condition today? The value of a 1943 steel penny can vary based on the market, but for one in good condition, you're typically looking at a price range between $11.50 at auction. While it's not going to break the bank, these pennies are still sought after by collectors and history enthusiasts. The good condition version of the 1943 large date without a mint mark is still considered valuable because of the rarity of the steel composition and its connection to wartime America. But what makes one coin worth more than another? Several factors influence the value of a 1943 steel penny beyond just its condition. Let's go over some of the key elements that can drive the price up. First, mintage numbers. In 1943, more than 1 billion steel pennies were minted across all varieties and mint marks, so the coin is relatively common. However, the large date variety with a D or no mint mark still holds historical value, as it's part of a one-year production. The market demand for 1943 steel pennies is also strong, which helps keep their value consistent in the auction market. Then, there's the overall condition. While good condition coins aren't as valuable as those in excellent or mint condition, they still attract interest because they can serve as a more affordable entry point for collectors. Cleaned or damaged coins, on the other hand, tend to have lower values. So, if you're looking to maximize your penny's worth, try to preserve its natural patina. If you found a 1943 steel penny and it's in good condition, congratulations. But what should you do with it next? Well, if you plan to sell, be sure to store your coin properly in a protective holder to prevent further damage. And if you're thinking about cleaning your coin, remember, it's generally better to leave it as is. Cleaning can reduce the coin's value, especially if it causes any scratches or damage to the surface. Next up, we're going to talk about the 1985 Washington Quarter with the P mint mark. This quarter is part of the iconic Washington Quarter series, but in very fine condition, it can have a surprising value on today's auction market. Let's dive into what makes this coin special and how much it's worth in. The 1985 Washington Quarter features the timeless design of George Washington's portrait on the obverse and a soaring eagle on the reverse. The P mint mark means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which in 1985 produced over 550 million quarters. Though it's not a rare coin in terms of mintage, its condition can play a big role in its collectible value. Like most quarters minted after 1964, the 1985 Washington Quarter is made of copper, nickel-clad, with an inner core of copper and outer layers of copper and nickel. This composition means the coin doesn't have the silver content that some earlier Washington Quarters had. But don't worry, it's still valuable to collectors, especially when it's in good condition like this one. Now, let's talk about condition. This 1985 Washington Quarter is in very fine condition, which means it is only light wear and retains clear details. Washington's features and the eagle's feathers are still well defined, though there might be slight wear on high points like the coin's rim and the eagle's wings. A coin in this condition is sought after by collectors for its clarity and overall look. So, what's the value of a 1985 Washington Quarter in very fine condition today? This coin typically sells for around $53,000 at auction. While it's not going to break the bank, it's still a decent price for a coin that has a lot of appeal for collectors, especially those focusing on completing a date run of Washington Quarters. Several factors can influence the value of your 1985 Washington Quarter. The biggest one is the condition. Very fine coins tend to do better than coins in lower grades, like good or fine condition. The demand for Washington Quarters also plays a role. Some collectors are specifically looking for quarters from each year, and the 1985 date isn't particularly rare, but collectors still want it to fill gaps in their collections. If you have a 1985 Washington Quarter in your collection, here are a few tips to make sure you're getting the best price if you decide to sell first. Check the overall condition closely. Coins in very fine condition are a sweet spot for collectors, but make sure there's no excessive wear or damage that could bring the value down. Second, research similar coins on auction platforms like eBay to get an idea of the going rate for coins in similar condition. While the 1985 Washington Quarter with AP mint mark in very fine condition isn't going to make you rich, it's definitely worth holding on to or considering for your collection. As part of the iconic Washington Quarter Series, it has lasting appeal and its value remains steady in today's market. Next up, the 1943 Lincoln Steel penny with a large date and an S mint mark in fine condition. If you've got one of these in your collection, you might be wondering, how much is this coin worth in today's auction market? Well, stick around because we're going to break down everything you need to know about this special coin and its current value. First, let's take a quick step back in time. In 1943, the United States was deep into World War IE, and there was a serious shortage of copper. In response, the U.S. Mint switched from copper to steel to produce pennies for 1 year only. These pennies were distinctive because of their silver gray color, which made them stand out from the usual copper pennies we're all familiar with. Although this change was meant to save copper for military use, it caused a number of problems. The steel pennies were prone to rusting and didn't have the same long-lasting appeal as copper pennies. But despite the challenges, the 1943 steel penny became a symbol of wartime ingenuity and resourcefulness. Now, when we talk about the 1943 steel penny, we need to discuss one important detail: the difference between the large date and the small date. The large date variety is more common and was struck in higher numbers, making it a bit more affordable than the small date version, which is rarer and highly sought after by collectors. The large date version is easily identified by the size of the numbers in the year 1943 on the obverse. The large date was used primarily for the S mint mark coins, and these are the ones we're focusing on today. Speaking of mint marks, this is where things get interesting. The 1943 steel penny was minted at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The S mint mark stands for the San Francisco Mint, which is known for producing coins with a distinct quality and finish. The S mint mark version of the 1943 steel penny is not as rare as some might think, but it does carry a bit more weight in terms of value, especially when it's in fine condition. Now, let's talk about what fine condition really means when it comes to coin grading. According to the American Numismatic Association, a coin in fine condition shows significant wear, but still retains most of its features. You can clearly see the Lincoln portrait, and the date and mint mark are legible, although the details are softened. There may be some light scratches or discoloration, but the overall design is still well defined. Coins in fine condition don't have the sharpness or definition of a very fine or extremely fine coin, but they still hold a lot of value due to their historical significance, and the 1943 steel penny is no exception. So, what's the 1943 steel penny, large date with S mint mark, worth in fine condition today? Well, the value of this coin can fluctuate based on auction demand and market trends, but in fine condition, you can expect it to sell for anywhere between $49,000 in today's market. Now, that price range may vary depending on factors like the overall appearance of the coin, how much detail is still visible, and whether it's being sold through a private sale or an auction. If your coin is in particularly nice fine condition or has other desirable features, it could push the value closer to the higher end of that range. But what drives the price up or down? A few key factors come into play when determining the value of a coin like the 1943 steel penny in fine condition. Let's break them down. The San Francisco Mint produced a relatively high number of 1943 steel pennies with the large date and S mint mark. However, because of the rusting issue and the passage of time, the number of high-quality surviving examples is much lower, and that helps drive demand in the market. First up, we're going to dive into the value of the Monticello 5-cent Jefferson nickel from 1984, specifically with the P mint mark, and more importantly, how its condition, yes, even a dirty one, affects its market value today. Here, we have a 1984 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark. The P indicates it was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, and this particular coin has seen better days. It's got some dirt and wear on it. But don't let that fool you, because we're going to talk about how this coin stacks up in today's market, even in a dirty condition. Before we get into the numbers, let's take a quick step back and talk a little bit about this coin's history. The 1984 Jefferson nickel features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse in Monticello, Jefferson's famous estate on the reverse. It was part of the ongoing series that began back in 1938 and continues to this day. In 1984, the U.S. Mint produced over 700 million Jefferson nickels, which makes this coin relatively common, especially in circulated condition. However, the real story here is how the condition of the coin affects its value. So, how much is a 1984 Monticello 5-cent Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark worth today, even if it's in dirty condition? Well, the value really depends on the overall condition of the coin. In uncirculated condition, this coin can fetch anywhere between $37,000 or more. But when it comes to a dirty coin like the one we're looking at, its value is a bit different. For a 1984 Jefferson nickel in dirty or less than perfect condition, we're talking about a value closer to $43,000. It's still considered face value or a slight premium, depending on how worn the coin is and how much dirt or tarnish is on it. Now you might be thinking, why would anyone want a dirty coin? Well, collectors often value coins based on rarity, condition, and demand. This 1984 nickel isn't rare, but its condition and the overall state of the coin can affect how much a collector is willing to pay. I know some of you might be tempted to clean a coin like this, but trust me, cleaning a coin can drastically reduce its value. Cleaning can remove the natural patina or damage the details, which collectors really want to preserve. So, it's always best to leave your coins in their natural state if you're thinking of selling or trading them. In dirty condition, you might not get top dollar, but you could still have a nice piece for your collection or even sell it in bulk for its face value. If you're trying to sell a dirty 1984 Jefferson nickel individually, expect to see offers between $50,000 or more. Now, if you happen to come across one of these coins in pristine condition or with a special error, you could be looking at a much higher value, but that's a whole other story. So there you have it. Even in dirty condition, the 1984 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark isn't going to make you rich, but it's still an interesting coin to have in your collection. Keep an eye on those nickels, and remember that sometimes it's the story behind the coin that makes it valuable, not just the price tag. Next up, the 1916 Lincoln wheat penny, specifically the large date variety without a mint mark and in a dirty condition with color shade. You might think, a dirty coin, how can it be valuable? Well, let's dive into why this 1916 penny is worth way more than just a cent today. Before we go into the specific details of the coin's value, let's quickly revisit what makes the 1916 Lincoln wheat penny so special. The Lincoln wheat penny was first minted in 1909, and it's been a favorite among collectors ever since. It features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse. Now, in 1916, the U.S. Mint produced 2 versions of the Lincoln wheat penny, the small date and the large date. The 1916 large date is more highly coveted by collectors due to its distinctive, larger digits. This alone sets it apart from the 1916 small date, but the story doesn't end there. What truly makes this penny a collector's gem is its absence of a mint mark, meaning it was minted in Philadelphia. But more importantly, we're talking about the coin's condition in particular, the dirty condition and color shade it has developed over the years. So what exactly makes a 1916 Lincoln wheat penny in dirty condition with a color shade so valuable? You might think that dirt and grime would lower a coin's value, but when it comes to rare coins like this one, the story is a little more complicated. First, let's talk about color shade. Over time, copper coins like the Lincoln wheat penny oxidize. When a penny has aged, it often develops a brown or reddish tint, which is perfectly normal. However, some coins develop a unique color shade due to the way they've been stored or exposed to the elements. This can include darker hues or a deeper patina, which gives the coin a distinct appearance. Now, you might be wondering, dirty condition? Well, yes, coins in dirty or uncleaned condition are often not what collectors prefer, but they can still be valuable, especially when the dirt or tarnish has been accumulated over decades or even centuries. The dirt can provide clues to the coin's journey through time, and collectors sometimes seek out these older pieces for their historical appeal, even with imperfections. So, when you combine the large date variety, the absence of a mint mark, and the unique aging process that created a color shade and dirt on the coin, it becomes a historically significant piece and that drives up the value. All right, so let's talk about how much a 1916 large date Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark, in dirty condition with color shade, is worth on today's auction market. This might surprise you. At first glance, you might assume that a coin in dirty condition wouldn't be worth much. However, the market for rare pennies, particularly those from the Lincoln Wheat series, has been growing for years. The 1916 large date penny, while not the rarest of the series, is still a key date that collectors want to complete their sets. In auction houses, the value of a 1916 Lincoln Wheat penny in dirty condition can range anywhere from $58,000, depending on factors like the extent of dirt, the color shade, and the overall demand in the market at the time. Now, for a more average example of the 1916 penny, say a coin that's in poor to fine condition with visible dirt, but a distinctive color tone, you could expect it to fetch a price closer to $85,000. But if this coin is sold at an auction where collectors are actively looking for this particular variation, the bidding could easily go higher, sometimes reaching $97 or more. The coin's specific character, whether it's got a distinctive copper tone or some unique environmental markings, can significantly influence the final auction value. Let's take a look at some recent auction results to give you a better idea of how this coin is performing in the current market. As you can see, just in the past few months, some 1916 large date Lincoln wheat pennies have sold for $135,000, even in less than ideal conditions. Next up in today's video, we'll take a closer look at the 1981 Washington quarter with the P mint mark. While this coin isn't made of silver, it's still part of a beloved series, and we'll discuss its value in good condition on today's auction market. Let's get started. The 1981 Washington quarter continues the iconic design that began in 1932, featuring George Washington's profile on the obverse and a majestic eagle on the reverse. The P mint mark tells us it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which produced over 601 million quarters that year. It's not a rare coin by mintage numbers, but collectors still look for examples in good condition for their collections. Unlike earlier Washington quarters minted before 1965, which were made of 90 silver, the 1981 quarter is composed of a copper nickel-clad material. This means it has a core of pure copper surrounded by layers of copper and nickel alloy. While it doesn't have intrinsic silver value, its collectible appeal remains strong. This particular coin is in good condition, which means it shows noticeable signs of wear from circulation. Details on Washington's portrait and the eagle may be smooth or less defined, and there could be scratches or discoloration despite the wear. Coins in good condition still hold interest for collectors, especially those building date runs of Washington quarters. So what's the value of a 1981 Washington quarter with AP mint mark in good condition in today's auction market? These coins typically sell for around $25,000 depending on the buyer's interest. While that may seem modest, coins in better conditions, like uncirculated examples, can sell for $50,000 or more, making condition a major factor in value. Several factors influence the value of the 1981 Washington quarter. First, condition is key. Coins in good condition are valued at or slightly above face value. Second, demand plays a role. While the 1981 quarter isn't rare, some collectors look for specific dates or mint marks to complete their collections. Finally, any unique features, such as errors or toning, can increase the coin's value significantly. If you're collecting or selling a 1981 Washington quarter, here are a few tips. First, check for minting errors. Double strikes, off-center errors, or die cracks can increase the coin's value. Second, consider grouping it with other quarters for a bulk auction if it's in good condition, as these lots often attract more bidders. Lastly, store your coin properly to prevent further wear or damage. While the 1981 Washington quarter with AP mint mark in good condition isn't a high-value collectible, it's still a fascinating piece of U.S. coinage history. Whether you're adding it to a collection or just curious about its value, this coin shows the enduring appeal of the Washington quarter series. Next up, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny, featuring the large date and D mint mark. But here's the kicker, we're focusing on the good condition version of this coin and how its value stacks up in the auction market today. So, if you're looking to sell or just curious about what this coin could be worth, stick around. Before we get into the value of this coin, let's go over the basics. The 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny is one of the most iconic coins from the Lincoln Wheat Penny series that was minted from 1909 to 1958. The 1944 penny was produced in huge numbers during World War I, when copper was in high demand for ammunition. So many of the pennies were actually made from steel during that time. However, the 1944 Lincoln penny was made from copper again, which makes it a standard copper penny. Now, the large date variety of the 1944 penny is distinctive because the digits in the year are noticeably larger than the small date version. For collectors, this variation makes a huge difference, and the D-Mint mark indicates that this coin was minted in Denver. It's important to note that while the 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny isn't one of the rarest in the series, it's still very much sought after due to its historical significance and popularity. Now, let's talk about condition. When it comes to coin collecting, the condition of the coin plays a major role in its value. The 1944 large date with D-Mint mark is most commonly found in a range of conditions from heavily worn examples to ones in brilliant uncirculated condition. But for this video, we're focusing on the good condition version of the coin. A good condition coin typically means that the details on the coin are still visible, but some wear is present. In the case of the 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny, you can still clearly see the image of Lincoln on the obverse and the two wheat stalks on the reverse, though there may be some signs of wear, light scratches, or discoloration. It's important to note that even in good condition, the 1944 large date with the D-Mint mark still holds substantial value, more than many other coins in the series, because it's a popular key date in the Lincoln Wheat series, and demand for it remains strong in the market. So, what can you expect to get for a 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny in good condition with a D-Mint mark in today's auction market? Well, the value of this penny can vary based on the coin's exact condition, but in general, prices for a 1944 large date with D-Mint mark in good condition range between $2 and $15. The reason why there's a range is because coins in good condition can have varying degrees of wear. For instance, if the wear on the coin is minimal and the details are still sharp enough, the coin can fetch a price closer to the higher end of that range, around $10 to $15. On the other hand, if the coin has a lot of wear, stains, or discoloration, it might fall closer to the lower end of the price range, around $2 to $5. In auctions, it's not uncommon for this coin to be sold in bulk collections or in higher quality condition that will fetch a premium. However, good condition 1944 Lincoln pennies, particularly with a D-Mint mark, are still relatively easy to find, and thus they don't fetch as much as coins in higher grades. Let's take a look at some recent auction results to get a better idea of what these coins are going for. Over the last few months, a 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny with D-Mint mark in good condition has sold anywhere from $3 to $12, depending on the overall appeal of the coin. For example, one auction result shows a 1944 large date with D-Mint mark in good condition selling for $8. Another auction shows a coin with slightly more visible wear going for only $3, while a coin with a slightly sharper strike and more defined features sold for a whopping $12. So, as you can see, the value can swing based on demand, coin details, and the market at the time of the auction. That being said, there's often a higher demand for coins in better condition. So if your 1944 penny is in excellent or near mint condition, you could expect to sell it for considerably more, closer to $20 or higher in some cases. So, why do collectors love the 1944 large date Lincoln Wheat Penny with D-Mint mark? Well, there are a few reasons. First, the 1944 Lincoln Penny was struck at a time of historical significance. During the height of World War I, the penny was made during a time of rationing and copper shortages, which adds a level of interest for collectors. Second, it's a key coin in the Lincoln Wheat series, and many collectors seek it out to complete their sets. Though not as rare as other dates in the series, The 1944 large date with D mint mark still holds a place in the hearts of collectors because of its significant mintage and role in American history. Next up, the 1977 Washington quarter without a mint mark. It's a classic piece of American history, and we're going to discuss its value in today's auction market, even in good condition. Let's dive in. The 1977 Washington quarter is a coin that's part of the iconic Washington quarter series, which started in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. It features his profile on the obverse, while the reverse showcases a majestic eagle with spread wings. But here's something to note. The quarters minted in Philadelphia in 1977 do not have a mint mark. If your coin is missing a mint mark, it means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Now, before we get too far, let's clear something up. The 1977 Washington quarter does not contain any silver. By 1965, the U.S. Mint had transitioned to using a copper-nickel composition for quarters, so this coin is made of a copper core with a nickel outer layer. While it's not a silver coin, it still holds value as a collectible, especially if it's in good condition or has unique characteristics. When we talk about good condition, we're referring to a coin that shows significant wear from circulation, but still retains enough detail to be identifiable. For the 1977 quarter, this means Washington's profile and the eagle's design are visible, but they may be worn down. While good condition isn't the most desirable for collectors, it can still hold a modest value, especially if the coin is part of a larger collection. So, what's the value of a 1977 Washington quarter without a mint mark in today's auction market? In good condition, these coins typically sell for around 50 cents to $1.25. While this may not seem like much, higher grades such as extremely fine or uncirculated examples can sell for $5 to $20 or more, depending on collector demand and market trends. The value in good condition is primarily for its historical appeal rather than rarity. The value of any coin is influenced by factors like rarity, condition, and collector demand. While the 1977 quarter without a mint mark is not considered rare, its age and historical significance still make it collectible. Coins in better condition, especially those graded by professional services like CGs or NC, will always command higher prices at auction. If you're looking to sell your 1977 Washington quarter or add one to your collection, here are a few tips. First, consider having it professionally graded. If you think it's in higher condition than good, this can significantly increase its value at auction. Second, research recent auction results to get an idea of current market trends. Lastly, remember that coins with unique minting errors like double die strikes or off-center errors can bring in much higher prices, so keep an eye out. While the 1977 Washington quarter without a mint mark isn't going to make you rich, it's still a piece of American history that deserves a spot in your collection. Even in good condition, it holds value as a collectible and can still fetch a modest price at auction. So check your change. You might just have one sitting around. Next up, the 1929 large date Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark. You may be wondering, what makes this coin so valuable, especially in very fine condition? How does it perform in today's auction market? Stick around as we break it all down for you. The 1929 large date wheat penny is an important coin in the history of U.S. currency. The wheat pennies, minted from 1909 to 1958, are famous for their distinctive wheat stalk design on the reverse side. These coins feature the profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and they were produced in large numbers over many years. The 1929 penny is particularly interesting because of its distinctive large date style. This version of the penny features a bold, easy, two-red 1929 that stands out due to the size of the numbers. While the difference may seem subtle, it's a key characteristic that helps collectors distinguish between the large date and small date varieties. The 1929 large date wheat penny was minted during a time of economic turbulence, just before the onset of the Great Depression. With the country's financial challenges, these pennies were produced in relatively large quantities. However, despite the high mintage numbers, the 1929 large date is still a coin that's become quite rare in higher grades. One of the reasons the 1929 large date without a mint mark is so valuable is due to its relatively low survival rate in higher grades. Many of these pennies circulated extensively, which means fewer of them have survived in the excellent condition that collectors covet today. Now, let's talk about the coin's condition. If you're familiar with coin collecting, you know that grading is crucial to determining a coin's value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect condition. For our 1929 large date penny, we're looking at a coin in very fine condition, which is a grade between 20 and 30 on the scale. In very fine condition, you'll notice that the coin shows significant wear, but many of the details are still visible. The wheat stalks on the reverse, Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, and the date are still clear, though they might be somewhat worn or softened from years of circulation. In this condition, the coin is not pristine, but it still holds a lot of value due to its overall appearance and the fact that it's hard to find many 1929 pennies in such good shape after decades of use. So, what is the value of a 1929 large date wheat penny without a mint mark in very fine condition in today's auction market? Let's dive into the numbers. Based on auction results from the last few years, a 1929 large date penny in very fine condition typically sells for around $40 to $58, depending on the exact quality of the coin and the auction environment. While this may not sound like a huge amount for a single penny, it's important to remember that the value of this coin is directly linked to its rarity in this condition and its demand among collectors. Coins in higher grades, such as extra fine or about uncirculated, can fetch higher prices, sometimes reaching $75 or more. And if you're lucky enough to find a 1929 large date penny in mint state, you could see prices soar into the hundreds of dollars, especially with the right buyer. Next up, we're going to be talking about a special coin from 1967, the silver Washington quarter dollar, which is often overlooked but still holds value, especially if it's in fine condition. We'll break down its auction market value today, so stick around to learn more. The 1967 silver Washington quarter is part of the iconic Washington quarter series. These quarters feature George Washington's portrait on the obverse and a majestic eagle on the reverse. The important thing to note about the 1967 quarter is that it was part of the final year of silver content in U.S. circulation coins. Starting in 1965, the U.S. Mint switched to copper, nickel-clad coins, but the 1967 Washington quarter still contains 90 silver. That silver content is one of the key reasons this coin holds value. Each 1967 Washington quarter weighs approximately 6.25 grams, with 90s of that weight made up of silver. At today's silver prices, this coin has an intrinsic value based on the precious metal, which always plays a role in its worth at auction. Now, let's talk about the condition. In coin collecting, we often hear terms like fine condition, which refers to a coin that has moderate wear, but all major details are still visible. For the 1967 Washington quarter in fine condition, you can expect George Washington's profile and the eagle design to be clear, though the details might be slightly softened by years of circulation. So what's the value of this coin in today's auction market? A 1967 silver Washington quarter in fine condition typically sells for around $49,000 based on its silver content and the condition. The silver value alone is roughly around $60,000 or so, but the coin's collectible nature can push it a bit higher at auction, especially if it's part of a set or offered to the right buyer. But remember, several factors can influence how much this coin will go for at auction. For instance, the rarity and collector demand for specific years and conditions play a big role. The 1967 quarter, while not exceedingly rare, still has a certain appeal to collectors because it's the last of the silver quarters issued for circulation before the shift to clad coins. If you have a 1967 silver Washington quarter and you're thinking about selling it at auction, here are a few tips to maximize its value. First, make sure the coin is clean, but not polished cleaning coins can decrease their value. Second, check the current silver prices as they fluctuate and can impact the coin's base value. Finally, consider having the coin graded by a professional service like PCs or ANC to ensure you're getting the most accurate valuation. While the 1967 silver Washington quarter in fine condition isn't going to make you a fortune, it's still a nice piece of American history, especially for collectors who are looking to complete their Washington Quarter series. Next up, the 1939 large date Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with an S mint mark in extra fine condition. This coin is not only a piece of American history, but also a valuable collector's item. So, how much is this coin worth in today's auction market? Let's dive in. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series, minted from 1909 to 1958, is beloved by collectors worldwide. The 1939 edition, minted at the San Francisco Mint, carries the iconic mint mark below the date. This distinguishes it from the pennies minted in Philadelphia or Denver that same year. The obverse features a classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, while the reverse displays the famous wheat stalk symbolizing prosperity and abundance. The large dates variety, as the name suggests, has bold and prominent numerals in the year, adding to its distinctiveness. Now, let's talk about condition, which is one of the biggest factors influencing a coin's value. The term extra fine refers to coins that show only slight wear on the high points of the design. For this 1939 wheat penny, details like Lincoln's hair and the wheat stalks are still sharp, but there may be minor signs of use. What makes the 1939 S penny stand out is its relative rarity in higher grades. While millions were minted, only a fraction of these coins have survived in excellent condition after decades of circulation. That's why a 1939 S penny in extra fine condition is so sought after by collectors. The value of a 1939 S Lincoln wheat penny in extra fine condition typically ranges from $48 to $90. This price can fluctuate depending on factors like the coin's exact grade, its eye appeal, and demand at the time of sale. But here's the exciting part. If your 1939 S penny is in an even higher grade, such as almost uncirculated AU, or mint state misses, its value could increase significantly, reaching $700 or more. Rare varieties or error coins from this year could fetch even higher prices. Next up, we're going to explore an interesting coin from the late 1970s, the 1979 Washington Quarter with AD mint mark. Now, this particular coin is in damaged condition, but even damaged coins can hold value in today's auction market. Curious about what this coin might be worth? Let's dive in. The 1979 Washington Quarter is part of the long-running Washington Quarter series, first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. This quarter features Washington's portrait on the obverse and a bald eagle on the reverse. The D mint mark indicates that it was struck at the Denver Mint, which produced over 489 million quarters in 1979. Unlike earlier Washington quarters that were made of 90 silver, the 1979 quarter is part of the copper nickel-clad era. This means it has a core of pure copper and outer layers of a copper-nickel alloy. While it doesn't have intrinsic silver value, it can still hold collectible value, depending on condition and rarity. Now, let's talk about the condition. This coin is in damaged condition, meaning it shows signs of heavy wear, scratches, dents, or discoloration that significantly impact its appearance and value. While damage does reduce a coin's value, some collectors still seek out damaged coins to fill gaps in their collections or for educational purposes. So, what's the value of a 1979 Washington Quarter with AD mint mark in damaged condition in today's auction market? Damaged examples typically sell for face value $36,000 or slightly more, depending on collector interest. However, if the coin has unique damage, such as errors during minting, it could fetch anywhere from $42,000 at auction. Speaking of errors, always double-check your damaged coins. Sometimes what appears to be regular wear or damage could actually be a minting error like an offset or strike, a double die, or a clipped planchet. These error coins are much rarer and can be worth significantly more, sometimes upwards of $50 or more, even in damaged condition. If you're selling or buying a damaged 1979 Washington Quarter, here are a few tips. First, check if the damage was caused during minting. This could make it more valuable. Second, research similar coins on auction platforms like eBay to see what they're selling for. And finally, if the coin is heavily damaged, it might still hold value as part of a bulk lot of coins. While a 1979 Washington quarter with a D mint mark in damaged condition isn't a jackpot find, it's still a piece of history that might have a small value in the collector market. And remember, if your coin has any signs of being an error coin, it could be worth much more than you think. Next up, the 1938 large date Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with a Denver mint mark, graded as very fine. How much is this coin worth in today's auction market? Stick around to find out. Let's start with a bit of history. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series ran from 1909 to 1958, designed by Victor David Brenner to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The 1938 edition was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. What sets the Denver minted coins apart is the small D mint mark located just below the date on the obverse. This identifies it as being struck at the Denver Mint, which produced about 20.5 million of these coins in 1938. The obverse features Lincoln's iconic profile, while the reverse showcases 2 wheat stalks flanking the words 1 cent and United States of America. This simple yet elegant design has made the wheat penny a favorite among collectors. When evaluating a coin's value, condition is key. The term very fine refers to coins that show moderate wear but still retain most of their details. On a 1938 Eid penny in very fine condition, you'll notice light wear on Lincoln's hair and cheekbones, but the overall design remains clear. While 20.5 million coins might seem like a large number, not all of them have survived over the decades, especially in collectible grades. This makes preserved examples increasingly valuable. Now, let's get to the exciting part. How much is a 1938 DE wheat penny in very fine condition worth in today's auction market? If you have one in an even higher grade, like extremely fine XF or mint state, the value could climb significantly, reaching $900 or more. For top-tier examples, unique errors or varieties could push the value even higher. So, is the 1938 AD wheat penny a good investment? Absolutely. Coins from the late 1930s, especially with mint marks, are becoming harder to find in collectible grades. As more collectors enter the market, demand for these coins continues to rise. If you have a 1938 D penny, consider having it professionally graded to maximize its value. And if you're looking to add one to your collection, now might be the perfect time to search for one at an auction or reputable dealer. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, next up, U.S. quarters, the 1993 silver Washington quarter with a D mint mark. If you're wondering how much this coin could fetch in today's auction market, especially in extra fine condition, stick around. We've got all the details for you. Here, we have the 1993 silver Washington quarter. The design features George Washington's portrait on the obverse, as you might expect from the Washington quarter series, and the reverse showcases the familiar eagle. What's interesting about this coin is that it's from a period of U.S. coinage when quarters were made using a copper nickel-clad composition, but this particular coin still holds appeal to collectors for its historical significance. Now, if you look closely at the obverse of the 1993 quarter, you'll see the D mint mark, which indicates that it was minted in Denver. Unlike earlier years when silver was still used in quarters, the 1993 quarters are not made of silver. They have a copper nickel-clad composition, which is a combination of copper and nickel layers surrounding a copper core. So, while it's not a silver coin, it's still a key date for collectors of modern U.S. coinage. Let's talk about condition. This coin is graded as extra fine, which means it shows minimal wear, but the main details like Washington's profile and the eagle's feathers are still very crisp and sharp. The coin has seen some circulation, but not enough to significantly diminish the design. Extra fine coins are highly desirable because they retain a lot of their original detail, making them more valuable than coins in lower grades. So what's this coin worth in today's auction market? A 1993 Washington quarter with AD mint mark in extra fine condition typically sells for around $73,000 or more. While that may not seem like a huge amount, it's still a solid value for a coin that's nearly 30 years old, especially when You consider the fact that it's in extra fine condition and still holds historical significance for collectors of modern U.S. coins. But why does the value of this coin fluctuate? Several factors can influence auction prices. The condition is a big one. Coins in better condition will always fetch more, but collector demand also plays a huge role. The 1993 Washington quarter, while not rare, has a steady following, and collectors of modern U.S. quarters will often pay a bit more for a well-preserved coin. If you're thinking of selling your 1993 Washington quarter or adding one to your collection, here are some tips. First, always check the condition. Coins graded in extra fine or better condition will have a noticeable difference in value. Second, if you're selling it, consider having it professionally graded by a service like SIGS or NZC, which could help you achieve a higher auction price. And finally, keep an eye on trends in the coin market, as demand for certain years can fluctuate based on popularity. While the 1993 Washington quarter with the D mint mark might not be the rarest coin out there, it's still a valuable piece for collectors, especially when it's in extra fine condition. It's a reminder of the U.S. Mint's modern quarter series, and with a little care, it can fetch a decent price at auction. Next up, the 1942 Monticello 5 cents Jefferson nickel, specifically the large date version with the S mint mark. We'll also be looking at what this coin is worth today, even in good condition. This here is a 1942 Jefferson nickel with the S mint mark, which means it was minted at the San Francisco Mint. This coin features Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, and on the reverse, you'll find Monticello, his famous estate. The 1942 large date version is a bit more unique, and we'll talk about why that's important. Let's start with some quick history. In 1942, the U.S. Mint produced two different types of Jefferson nickels, one with a small date and one with a large date. The large date version, which is the one we're talking about today, is a bit more notable among collectors. The reason, well, in 1942, the Mint was transitioning to producing the Silver War nickel, so the large date version stands out as a key date in the Jefferson nickel series. Over 100 million Jefferson nickels were minted in 1942, but what makes the ES Mint mark large date version more special? It's mainly the combination of the year and the mint mark, along with its overall scarcity compared to other years. Let's take a look at the value. Now, if you've got a 1942 large date Jefferson nickel with the S mint mark in good condition, you might be wondering what it's worth today. The good news is that even in good condition, this coin has some decent value for collectors. In good condition, this coin typically falls in the range of $59,000 now. It's not going to make you rich, but considering that most coins from this era aren't worth much beyond face value, that's a solid price for a coin in this condition. Of course, condition is key. A good condition coin has noticeable wear and tear, with some of the details softened, especially the features on Jefferson's face and the Monticello building. But even so, the 1942 large date with the S mint mark is still a sought-after coin among collectors. Even with the wear, the coin retains its collectible appeal, especially for those looking to complete their Jefferson nickel collection or those interested in wartime era coins. In better conditions like fine or very fine, the value can increase significantly, but today we're focusing on the good condition market. So how do you get the best value for your 1942 large date Jefferson nickel with the S mint mark in good condition? The best way is to keep an eye on the market. While it's not a super rare coin, there are still collectors who value it because of its historical significance and role in the Jefferson nickel series. If you're looking to sell, you might find dealers or collectors who are willing to pay a little more for a coin in good condition, especially if it's part of a larger collection or if it comes with documentation of its authenticity. So, there you have it, the 1942 large date Jefferson nickel with the S mint mark in good condition may not be worth a fortune, but it's still a valuable piece for any collection. If you come across one, don't let it slip by, because it's a nice coin with some good historical and collector appeal. Next up, the 1987 Washington quarter, specifically the large date variety with D mint mark in extra fine condition. We'll break down its value in today's auction market and explore why this coin might be a great addition to your collection. Let's dive in. The 1987 Washington Quarter carries the classic design we've come to expect from this iconic series, George Washington's profile on the obverse and a powerful eagle on the reverse. The D Mint mark indicates that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint, which produced millions of these quarters. The 1987 Washington Quarter is unique in that it comes in two varieties, a large date and a small date. This particular coin is the large date version, and while both varieties have similar mintage numbers, the large date variety has become a favorite among collectors. So why does the large date matter? It's all about the design elements, specifically the size of the numbers in the date. Some collectors like the larger digits because they provide a unique variation in the series. Just like most quarters minted after 1964, this 1987 Washington Quarter is made of a copper nickel-clad composition. It features an inner core of copper, surrounded by layers of copper and nickel. This differs from earlier Washington Quarters, which were made of 90 silver, but don't worry, it still holds its value for collectors who appreciate its place in the Washington Quarter series. Now, let's talk about condition. This coin is in extra fine condition, which means it shows only light wear, but all the key details like Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers are sharp and well defined. A coin in extra fine condition still holds a lot of appeal for collectors because it maintains much of its original luster and detail, making it a highly sought after piece. So, what's the value of a 1987 Washington Quarter with D Mint mark in extra fine condition today? You can expect to see this coin sell for anywhere between $38,000 at auction, depending on the interest and demand. While it's not an extremely rare coin, its condition and the large date variety help boost its value beyond face value. The value of your 1987 Washington Quarter can be influenced by a few factors. First, the condition is key coins in extra fine condition are worth significantly more than those in lower grades. Second, there's the demand. While this isn't a rare date or mint mark, collectors who specialize in Washington Quarters or those looking for specific varieties will often pay a premium for a high-quality coin. If you have a 1987 Washington Quarter in your collection, here are a few tips. First, make sure the coin is properly graded. If your coin is in extra fine condition, you're in great shape, but if it's lower, like in good or fine condition, expect the value to be lower next. Research auction results for similar coins. If you're selling, listing your coin in an auction with great photos and a detailed description will help it stand out to collectors. Lastly, store your coin in a protective holder to avoid scratches or further wear that could diminish its value. While the 1987 Washington Quarter with a D Mint mark in extra fine condition isn't one of the rarest quarters, it certainly holds value for collectors who appreciate its unique large date design and excellent condition. Whether you're adding it to your collection or selling it, this coin has lasting appeal in the world of numismatics. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed learning about the 1987 Washington Quarter, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any future coin content. Have a 1987 Washington Quarter in your collection? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, happy collecting.